In adulthood, and this will usually start a pretty lively argument at a Saturday night Gen X party, but it's pretty well documented. The women of Gen X in adulthood are proving themselves to be confident, competent, focused, while the guys of Gen X are kind of searching for their identity. Oh, look at the wives telling the husbands, "That's you, honey." Searching for their focus, searching for, crying out loud, for their masculinity. What the heck happened? Well, think back to their formative years. During the 70s and 80s and 90s, young Gen X girls are coming of age whether they know it or not, and they are absorbing the full force of the feminist message. Young Gen X girl, you can grow up to be anybody you want to be, go anywhere you want to go, do anything you want to do. There are no limits. You go, girl. And they go. Girls' confidence up. In 1972, the oldest Xers are 7. Their generation is beginning the classroom years. And that is when Congress passes the landmark legislation Title IX, which, among other things, mandates that all of our federally funded schools must quickly equalize their sports offerings between the boys and the girls. So throughout their school years, Gen X girls will see their athletic opportunities mushroom, while some of the guys see their sports either reduced or completely cut to make budgetary room for the girls. Girls' confidence up another notch. The guys take a hit. According to the NCAA, during Gen X's college years at our nation's major universities, the number of female sports at those large universities increases by 703, while the men's sports at those larger universities decreases by 245. It would be in, I think, the mid-2000s that the CBS television show 60 Minutes would produce a segment on Title IX. And they talked to Gen X women who are now in their 30s. And one Gen X woman said it for her entire generation when she said, "We know we're the lucky Title IX babies." The men of Gen X in that same segment had 2 strong sentiments about Title IX. Sentiment number 1, back then when we were in school, we couldn't help but feel jealousy and resentment and anger. The girls were getting the money, the attention, and the breaks. Sentiment number 2 by Gen X men, we are immensely happy that the women of our generation got that athletic opportunity because we know that mom and grandmom didn't. In addition to the classroom and on the athletic fields, television also is celebrating this era of the surging female. First of all, Gen Xers, you women can probably remember when you were very young kids in 1973, it was one of the great television farces of all time, but everybody in the nation watched it. In the Houston Astrodome, a tennis match between Billie Jean King, who kicked the butt of male chauvinist pig hustler Bobby Riggs. It was called the Battle of the Sexes, and it attracted the largest tennis crowd in the history of the sport, 30,000 people. But then a little bit more seriously, in terms of being on the athletic field, in 1976, in the Summer Olympics, young Gen X girls see Nadia Comaneci record the first ever perfect 10 for a female in Olympics gymnastics. From 1976 to 1981, every week, they get to see Charlie's Angels kicking butt. In 1978, when the oldest Xers are 13, the United States Army disbands its Women's Army Corps and now begins admitting women into its regular army. And in 1983, Xer girls coming of age see Sally Ride become the first woman in space. What a glorious time to be a girl coming of age in America. What a frequently difficult time to be a young boy coming of age in America. during their childhood, and specifically beginning in 1972, as the oldest Xers are turning 7, the entertainment colossus known as video gaming arrives. And throughout their childhood, it will sweep such a large percentage of Xer boys into hours and hours of gaming, challenging and fun, but also very narrow in its scope, and also kind of isolating. While the girls of Gen X at the very same time are now being offered so many opportunities, and their horizons are widening as rapidly as the boys are shrinking. Also during Gen X's formative years, and this will be the big one, our nation's suddenly very busy divorce courts are granting child custody almost entirely to the moms, not to the dads, not back then. And so a very, very significant percentage of Gen X boys will try to make that passage from boyhood to manhood, maybe visiting dad only every other weekend, if that, and often living in a mom-only supervised household. And if one Gen X boy also has one sister, holy cow, he's growing up in a female-dominated household. So Gen X females and Gen X males, in some significant ways, have very distinctive childhood passages. And here are a couple of examples of how those formative years' experiences show up decades later in the marketplace. Advertisers that want to target a specific generation now know that here's how generational advertising works. Identify the generation you wish to target, Gen X. Identify core values of that generation, and then craft the creative of your message to resonate with that core value. That's generational advertising strategy. We'll show you some television commercials throughout this program and throughout this series for a couple of reasons, just so you'll be aware of how the strategy works behind the scenes, but also because the commercials that we have chosen showcase so nicely generational core values, which are the entire essence of generational study. Here is part of a television commercial from Secret Deodorant. It targets Gen X females. Confident, competent, and Title IX athletic. And fellows, we do not do well at all in this commercial. This one pokes lighthearted fun at that poor, emasculated, almost feminized Gen X guy who had to try to come of age during the era of the surging female.
Thank God you came. Look, I know you had that thing tonight, but I didn't know what else to do. I mean, cars are whizzing by, and I think my cell's almost dead, and I don't even have it.
Where's the spare?
The spare what?
Secret Invisible Solid with unbeatable, invisible wetness protection. It's strong enough to handle anything for the women who already do.
Okay, all set.
Okay, I'll take it from here.
Secret, strong enough for a woman.
Don't worry, fellows, I would not leave us hanging. Here is how another advertiser targets Generation X men by trying to give them their masculinity. Here is one of the very positive outcomes of the women's movement and its impact on all of Gen X. Xer husbands and wives are demonstrating a genuine equality in their marriages. They are sharing responsibilities, not dividing them. And as I zigzag around the country presenting business seminars, in every city, Xers will come up afterwards and say the same thing. My husband is also my best friend. My wife is also my best friend.